Okay, so today we're looking at the Double Dragon Kunio-Kun Retro Brawler Bundle on the Nintendo Switch. Does this collection of 18 classic titles, some that have never reached the US, UK or Europe before, deliver the goods, or are you just best off kind of skipping out on this collection? Well, hit subscribe if you like the Switch as much as we do. You're bound to find content you'll like here. Leave me a comment below. What's your favourite 2D retro brawler of all time? Mine, it's got to be Streets of Rage 2 on the Mega Drive or Genesis. But with that, let's get this started. Okay, so due to the nature of this title, I'm not breaking this video down as usual by, graphics, gameplay, all that good stuff. We're just going to kind of talk about it as a whole and see where it goes. So first off, what games are included, and let's fire these off quickly. Excuse any pronunciations, I'm bound to get a few wrong. But yeah, released in English previously, we get Double Dragon 1, 2 and 3, Renegade, Super Dodgeball, River City Ransom, and Crash and the Boys Street Challenge. Then for the first time in English, brand new Western releases, we get Neketsu Renegade Kunio-Kun, Neketsu High School Dodgeball Club, Downtown Neketsu Story, Neketsu High School Dodgeball Club Soccer Story, Downtown Neketsu March Super Awesome Field Day, Downtown Special Kunio-Kun's Historical Period Drama, Go-Go Neketsu Hockey Club Slip and Slide Madness, Surprise Neketsu New Records The Distant Gold Medal, Neketsu Fighting Legend, Kunio-Kun's Neketsu Soccer League, and finally Neketsu Street Basketball All Out Dunk Heroes. Long list, some of the best names I've ever heard in my entire life, but I'm going to highlight them on screen now to show you a few things about each, just so it matches what I'm saying. Hopefully this works. It's going to be a bit weird, but let's try it. It's the only way I could kind of think of to do this. It's a combo of 9 brawlers. One of these 9 has RPG elements in the period drama game, and then one is a tournament style fighter. On top of that then, we get 9 individual sports games. Now while it says it is 18 games, I do think it's worth pointing out here we get 4 doubles, where you can see the changes between its East and West release. Neketsu Renegade Kunio-Kun is Renegade technically. In the Western release, all sprites and backgrounds, they were changed though, so I will say it almost feels like a sequel and completely separate game. Neketsu High School Dodgeball Club, if it's not obvious, is Super Dodgeball. In the Western release we saw a few minor graphical changes, teams were updated and we got new audio samples. Downtown Neketsu Story, that one's River City Ransom. Western audiences got different graphics and a different storyline. And if you don't know, also in PAL regions, River City Ransom was actually known as Street Gangs. And then finally, Surprise Neketsu New Records, The Distant Gold Medal, is Crash and the Boys Street Challenge, which saw just a few minor plot changes and graphical tweaks in its Western release. On this point, I will say it kind of feels like saying 18 games is a little bit of a stretch, if I'm honest. More like 15, where Renegade had that major overhaul. Gameplay wise, I can't speak about every single one individually. This video would be like 2 hours long, but I'll say this. On offer here we get some strong emulation, the controls are responsive, and they're all mapped as you would expect, so that is for sure a positive. Yes, as games go, gameplay is basic, which I expected, and if you played them before you should expect that too. But it's also for me what made them so addictive first time around. It's what I wanted. I wanted a true representation of that game from the past. It's a forgotten era of gaming almost, and I'm loving seeing the resurgence with these compilations coming out. Castlevania Collection, Contra Collection. We had the SNK 40th anniversary one recently too. This one, gameplay-wise, for Double Dragon and Kunio-Kun fans, it should have something for everyone, whether that's, revisiting titles you played before, like Double Dragon 2, an absolute masterpiece, River City Ransom, another masterpiece, or just fun addictive ones like going back to Super Dodgeball. I'll be honest, I didn't expect much from that one, but it's lost none of its magic. I love these, and I grew up on these, and that feeling of nostalgia rushed back extremely quickly. For me though, and I'm sure for many, the real draw is going to be getting to check out titles we never got to play in the West before. Highlights for me were the period drama title, which adds a level of RPG. Even though it might sound boring period drama, it's definitely not. Super Awesome Field Day, one I always wanted to check out. Soccer League, which is surprisingly addictive. And then All Out Dunk. This one is the strangest basketball game I have ever played. It has not 1, not 2, but 3 hoops on either side of the court, all stacked on top of each other for different points. It's a collection of titles where in the late 80s and early 90s, they flexed creativity and took these characters in so many different directions, you know, taking risks. And I will say, very few of these games really missed the mark. Except for maybe Crash and the Boys, that one's average at best, but that's really the only weak one. Everything else, just great stuff. Then for on top of this, that out of the 18, 14 of them actually have what's called quality up versions that improves the gameplay mechanics to make them a little bit more, you know, modern. 4 save slots for each, always a nice addition for retro titles because you really do forget how challenging these were. Online and local multiplayer for every single game. And then a huge list of achievements to unlock as you progress. I think it's fair to say there's a whole lot of retro goodness on offer here. Graphically speaking, there's very little I can say. These are NES and Famicom titles from 1988 through 1993. We weren't exactly running powerhouse consoles back then, but the 8-bit and 16-bit graphics we get here, they've lost none of their charm. You know, expect the usual benefits from an upgrade like this. They look sharp. There's that expected upscale that translates to a huge ass TV or handheld perfectly. The colours, they pop in all their new like HD glory. And basically it's everything you could ask for. Put them side by side with the original releases. You know, I actually plugged in my my old NES for some River City goodness to see what it was like, and the image quality difference is just so noticeable. Outside of this graphically then, you can expect a few modern day additions to add that, like, you know, 2020 feel, borders around the edge displaying artwork from the game you're playing, some nice menus to navigate and choose your next game from, a screen size converter so you can do everything from the original size to, you know, that awful stretched full screen look that no one should ever use. They even throw in optional scan lines with varying levels of intensity. I feel like for a retro collection they hit all the right marks, so my only request, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more history about each title. Castlevania Collection was a prime example. They had like this art book and history book in there, and it was so cool to read on my Switch in tablet mode. Last up then, we get audio, and as these are, you know, published by the original developers, we get the fully licensed audio experience. Every track is where it should be, but we now get that stereo audio fidelity we would expect. One of my favourite things with these retro collections, it's hearing that audio jump that we get here. It's almost like this is what it should have sounded like. Nothing groundbreaking or anything, of course, but if you enjoyed them first time around, you're for sure going to get flashbacks as you listen to them again, and you're going to love every second of it. So the final verdict on the Double Dragon and Kunio-Kun Retro Brawler Collection delivers in nearly every area that I expected, even if I do think advertising it as 18 titles is a little, you know, misleading. Yes, it is true, but come on, duplicates with a few minor changes, I don't think that personally counts. At the end of the day though, these are brawlers and spin-offs that were, at the time, best in class and genre defining. In all honesty, I'm a fan myself as well, I grew up on them. They would have had to have really screwed this up for me to not enjoy it. Gameplay feels as it should, the emulation is solid, it's a nice collection of titles that covers a history, and then the modern additions to the gameplay, you know, those quality of life fixes for 2020 are more than welcome. This though, it's where it gets interesting. I do want to put a complaint out there. I'm not okay, in all honesty, with the price here. At $40 in the US, like £32 in the UK or 36 euros, it just feels to me too steep. I thought this would be at that 20 to 25 mark. Am I cheap? I don't know, you tell me in the comments. But when I look at Castlevania Collection, the Contra Collection, both sub 20 with similar packaging, it does make me question the aim here with a price so high. I feel like they just kind of limit their audience with this price tag. I feel like it's only at this point for the nostalgic. I want younger gamers out there to check these out, you know, who weren't around for that first release. But if it was me, if I'd never played them before, would I be willing to drop that £30, $40 on something like that? I don't think so. That's way above kind of like gambling with my money range for me. For me, drop this by 10 for the digital release, or even give me a physical release at this point, because they haven't announced anything yet. I'm hoping it goes physical. I'd be okay with 40 at that point, but right now, even I'm kind of questioning, would I spend this much on this collection? Today, with that in mind, there's no doubt it's an amazing collection of games, but with the price issue I have, I'm giving this one a great 8 out of 10. If you do see this around 20 or even sub 20, make that a 9 easily and just buy it immediately. It's a piece of history that everyone should play once in their lifetime, I know that much. Thanks so much for watching. How do you feel about the price on this one? Is it fair or too much, or even would you pay more? Hit subscribe, join our family here. If you like the Switch as much as we do, you're sure to find the content you want. And with that, I'll see you all on the next video.